Happy Thursday and welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. We have got a stacked show for you today for the next 2 hours. We'll get you caught up on some of the NFL previews you need to know. Of course, we've got tons of reaction to the chaos in Michigan. Sherrone Moore fired. But we start the show with the NBA Cup. Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz. And look, Caroline, the Lakers are gone from this thing, eliminated late last night by way of a butt-whooping to the San Antonio Spurs. And I do mean butt-whooping. Like, don't pay attention to the final score. They got trashed in this game, 132 to 119. It took a Herculean effort to make it that close. The Lakers get a loss here. Look, at the end of the day, they clearly just weren't ready to handle San Antonio.
And look, when you don't play defense, this is how you find yourself in this position. And this was on a night for the Lakers where their big three, their version of the big three, and Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves, like they took care of business. Austin Reeves with 15 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. I think maybe a more quiet day by his standard, but still getting work done. We had Luka with 35 points, LeBron with a 19, 15, and 8. And then you get Marcus Smart coming off the bench with 26 points, one of the best nights of his season so far. But the Lakers just don't play defense, Fitz, and it's so freaking frustrating. But I'll give credit to the Spurs because early in this season, coming into the season, I was under the impression of if Wemby doesn't go off, the Spurs can't find ways to win. If Wemby can't stay healthy, then the Spurs won't be a force in this deep West. We saw last night, it proved to me last night that even without Wemby, we have guys like Stephon Castle that can step up. We've got guys like Dylan Harper, even as a rookie who doesn't look like he's playing like a rookie, can step up. So this Spurs team is proving to me with Wemby can be one of the scariest teams in the West. Even without Wemby, can beat anybody in the West, especially a Lakers team that was doing the things that they needed to do, have been checking the boxes to win games in the style that they've been winning, at least offensively. But if the Lakers don't figure out a way to play defense sometime soon, Fitz, then I think we can start to look past the Lakers as being a true contender in the West.
Yeah, the fact is what we learned last night, and I you're right, the Spurs deserve credit. Winning without Wemby is great. I want to say that, full stop. Secondary point. The Lakers aren't Santa Claus. They smell like beef and cheese, right? Like, this is just a honest answer here for the Lakers. Like, we're continually going to try and figure out how to cram the Lakers into the conversation of the elite because it looks like they have 3 megastars this year. And I'm not saying that lightly. I think Austin Reeves has played like an absolute star. And then you have Luka and you have LeBron doing LeBron things, right? That's all spectacular. That can all be true. And at the same time, they can sit on a throne of lies because they are not a championship caliber team the way they're built. And more importantly, I don't think there's an easy solution for that. As you mentioned, Marcus Smart played a really good game last night. None of that changes the fact that, as we've covered, the Lakers are not built to handle transition defense. The Lakers are not built to handle getting to the perimeter at all defensively. Saw Luka a couple of times last night, like, step out and try and make the effort. It's just not what Luka does, and that's fine, but you have to have somebody on that roster that can do that, and I don't think it's just any one person. So if the answer is let's go to the trade machine and figure out who to get the Lakers, my answer is I don't think it's one person. I think you need 2 or 3 different people that can come in that specialize in perimeter defense and specialize in being able to get effectively out to the edge all the time. They don't have that. So every time they play a team that moves the ball particularly well, they're going to get beat up by it. They have defensive issues all over the place. So, yeah, their big three can show up. Yeah, they can have a nice night from Smart. They can have big nights from big names, and they're going to pop off. But this is the 3rd time in the last 5 games that the Lakers have trailed by 20 or more points in a game, because what we talked about early in their success is that they were taking on some really terrible teams. What happens when they take on better? So far, the answer is what happens is you're barely competitive, and I don't think there's an easy solution for this. So, yes, the Spurs deserve a ton of credit for the win, but I look at the Lakers and say this is just week in and week out. We're going to be talking about more of the glaring issues that the Lakers have, particularly defensively, that aren't going to be easy to fix. That's the hard part for me, Caroline, because we want to put the Lakers in the conversation of elite. We'll get to the elite in a second. You watched last night. It is so clear that the Lakers are nowhere near the conversation of elite. They're in the conversation of pretty good, and that works for some teams. That doesn't work for the Lakers.
You bring up trades. It is a non-negotiable for me that the Lakers absolutely positively have to make a move for somebody a big presence, a big defensive presence to at least help bolster up that defense, because it will cost them games. It has obviously cost them games at how leaky they are defensively. But to your point, what's one move? What's one acquisition the Lakers can make that can make all of the difference? I mean, I look around, I'm like, I don't know, like AD, like time is a flat circle. But like the Lakers aren't an Anthony Davis away, especially this version of Anthony Davis away from all of a sudden looking like they can be true contenders, because right now the standard is Oklahoma City, which of course we'll get to in just a second. The standard is Oklahoma City. If you're any team in the West, if you're any team in the NBA, you have to be looking at how can we construct our team, or how is our team currently constructed to beat Oklahoma City and to compete with Oklahoma City, and what do we need, what are we lacking? Obviously for the Lakers, it's defense. They are not one defensive, shut down kind of guy away from contending with Oklahoma City. So it's like, yes, the Lakers have to make this move. They have to do something to at least, bolster up their defense. But also, is that going to be enough? Does that all of a sudden make the Lakers better than Denver? Does it make the Lakers better than the San Antonio Spurs? Were the Lakers one shutdown defensive player away from beating the Spurs last night? Maybe. I lean no.
Well, and by the way, all that would mean is that they were one shutdown defensive player away from beating a Wemby-less Spurs. The Spurs you can look at and say, hey, Wemby's going to come back. We're going to take another level. And to your point, part of this with the defensive side of it is just rotation, right? Like your ability to just move with the ball. And the number of times I've heard on the broadcast, I've heard on different podcasts, I've heard on different Lakers-specific shows, well, this team isn't built for transition defense. That is a correct statement. So then the question becomes, how do you build this team for transition defense? And the answer is right now, you don't. You start looking at the superstar names that everybody's got an eye on starting December 15th. They're going to be moved around. And do any of us really believe that a James Harden is going to fix this? Do any of us believe that a Giannis is going to fix it? Like, look, those are great stories. Everybody wants to put a star on a team, and everybody says, well, let's move. You mentioned AD. Let's move a star over to this team. Okay, that answers one thing. That doesn't answer how you fix transition defense. It doesn't answer how you fix rotations. It doesn't answer how you chase the ball. It doesn't answer how you cover the guards. Like, it's just over and over and over again. So the Lakers are going to be fun because some nights they'll pop off. And I do want to give credit for that pop-off because, like, look, LeBron, you see LeBron there with the eliminated. Let's give LeBron a little credit. There was a moment last night where LeBron James reminded everybody exactly of just what old man strength is. Look at that. Like, look, up and away. He rises, he climbs the stairs. I mean, and I think even the more impressive part of that was the rebel yell that came out of him afterwards, right in Cornette's face. Like, it was just that moment of intensity. And I watched that. And the funny thing is, I watched that replay over and over and over again. And I said, man, that's almost impressive enough that you forget that the Lakers lost. Like, that one play personifies everything that's a problem with the Lakers, Caroline, because you could get that moment from LeBron and they still got their asses kicked.
Look, I feel like I've been sounding like the Boohoo LeBron crew here over the last couple of weeks whenever everybody's trying to take, old man James out to the back and, oh, well, LeBron, he's just, so old and it's just so hard to watch on a night when he just broke his 19-year double-digit scoring streak. I'm like, I don't know. Hello, he's 40 years old. LeBron's going to have nights where he doesn't look like LeBron James, but LeBron James is still LeBron James. He's still got it in him somewhere. Like, LeBron is still good for a 25-10 night on any given night, and that's exactly what we got last night. Like, if that's the reminder that you needed, like, I'm not even like a LeBron apologist. It feels gross that I feel like I have to keep defending this man, that he can still play at a high level. Is he still LeBron of 15 years ago? No, but why would anyone expect that of him? LeBron's still got it. And it's still fun to watch. Everybody quit pushing to LeBron to retirement, because I still want moments like that we got last night.
Oh my God, I want to feel that level of absolute momentum just once. That's the way I yell at people when I get in front of them in the extra mashed potatoes line at Christmas dinner. Okay, so you mentioned greatness. Let's get to them. Thunder, feel the thunder. Boom, boom, boom. Oklahoma City last night. This is not a misspeak by me for once. OKC wins 138-89, and dare I say the game wasn't even that close. The Oklahoma City Thunder just absolutely clapped the Phoenix Suns. And let me be an old man for a second. Just allow me the grace of being the old man on this show that I am. I watched the Bulls historic team as a kid. I watched all of that as we were all, society was mesmerized by just how good Jordan and Pippen and Rodman looked, and you just thought, man, nobody could ever stop them. I remember OKC, or I remember Golden State just a few years ago and what that season looked like. That didn't end in a championship. And I watched OKC last night, and I just sat there on my couch and said, this is better. This is better than any of that. This is the best basketball I've ever seen. This is the best team I've ever seen. This is the most dominant team I've ever seen. Look, let me make it very clear. Oklahoma City is so good that if, for example, let's say the Bucks call OKC and say, come on, why don't you guys add Giannis? OKC should just hang up the phone and laugh. They don't need anything. They don't need anyone's help. They don't need an extra superstar. They are going to absolutely, barring injury, shatter the all-time wins record this year. They are going to shatter and destroy every team through the playoffs, and they are going to make history in front of our eyes. Every single time we get to watch this team, Caroline, it is a gift because I don't just think this is the best team this year. This is the best team of all time. So just get used to watching them kick butt because they make it look easy.
This is the kind of team that when your team inevitably gets beat and beat pretty badly by them, I feel like you just have to laugh because it's comical. They are so good and so dominant. It is almost comical. It is, and to your point, I believe they will shatter that record. Because in order for Oklahoma City to just match that record, they'll have to go 49-8 over the rest of the course of the season. Doesn't that seem, after going 24-1, like pretty easy, like child's play? Because right now, if Oklahoma City continues this trajectory that they're on, which I'm looking around thinking, why would they not continue this trajectory? Because they're not just beating teams, they're not just squeaking by in fluky ways. They're beating teams handedly. It's double-digit wins on any given night. And Oklahoma City has an overwhelmingly, positive win-loss record when you just look at by the spread. I believe they're 16-8 against the spread, which is shocking because in almost every single spread, they're double-digit favorites. And they still find a way to cover. And what I think is even and more astonishing to me, what gives me even more hope that the Oklahoma City can continue this trajectory. SGA had 28 points in 27 minutes. SGA didn't have to play the fourth quarter. Nobody played more than 27 minutes. That was SGA, and everybody else had 25, 22, 19, 17 here and there. So Oklahoma City is getting out to such large leads that they can just sit their starters on the bench. So on any given night, they have fresh legs because they're not playing a full 40-minute basketball game. So it's like it just compounds on top of another of like, okay, it's a massive win, so you can sit your starters, and then coming up the next game, they're that much more fresh. So why won't they continue this trajectory? Knock on wood, they're on pace now to lose, 3 or 4 games this season? That is staggering, and I think they can absolutely positively do it.
So I will give everybody a stat that is impressive based on what you just said. ESPN Stats and Info deserves the credit for this. So far, over the course of the entire NBA season, the Oklahoma City Thunder have trailed for 249 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay? 249 minutes, 53 seconds all season long. If you take the entire season, the Oklahoma City Thunder have led by more than 20 points this season for 264 minutes and 17 seconds.
Jeez.
They've actually spent more time this season up by more than 20 points than they have by down even a single point. That is a level of domination. I'm telling you, if you go back 20 years ago, and maybe people don't remember this, nobody was walking around in the streets wearing Golden State Warriors jerseys. It just wasn't happening. There was no time that you walked into a sports bar or a sports book in Vegas and you saw Warriors jerseys from wall to wall. It just didn't exist 20 years ago. In 20 years, you're going to walk into sports books and you are going to see Thunder jerseys everywhere. You are going to see OKC gear everywhere. This is about to become their generation's Golden State Warriors. And you look at that dominance, my God, they've outscored opponents by 437 points this season, the largest differential through the first 25 games of a season. But even more importantly, that's 90 points higher than the team with the second best differential, the 07-08 Boston Celtics. I know none of it matters until they win a championship, and we're a long way from that, but my God, we are watching beauty and dominance every time OKC steps on the court. I'm here for it. You see the way the matchups go there. OKC will take on San Antonio. Orlando will take on the Knicks as the Cup continues in Vegas, which will give us more chaos to talk about. We'll keep breaking it down, but coming up next, we had wild breaking news in college football yesterday that shocked the entire sports world. Sherrone Moore out in Michigan. We'll get to the latest and react to it next. The sports world was shocked yesterday. Michigan fired Sherrone Moore for a violation of university policy. This tweet from Ross Sellinger confirming ESPN that dismissal is for cause a university investigation uncovered off-the-field transgressions. And Ross added after that tweet, quote, following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with the staff member. That was only the beginning of a story that became wildly chaotic last night across the sports landscape, because not only was Sherrone Moore fired for cause, and we're trying to get more details on that, but after that, Sherrone Moore was detained by the police. There are still conflicting reports. I will tell everybody right now that it is better to be accurate than it is to be first. So one thing we will stress on this show, and we will always stress on this show, is we will go with the best information that we have. If you have the internet right now, you can go out and you can look and find 100 different rumors on what's happening when it comes to the detainment or arrest or all of these different things. What we know right now is that he is in custody in Michigan. Court records have shown there have been no charges released yet. Until we have something concrete, we're not going to speculate on that. But we are going to look at the information that we've gotten so far, Caroline, and this is a stunning moment here because the timing of it, because what it means, and just because from a human element, you've got a family that's being ripped apart. Actions have consequence. I will say that loudly. That is fine. Two things can be true. Actions can have consequence. Sherrone Moore may have done things that have led to this that are absolutely inexcusable, and it also breaks my heart for a family that's going through this, for the players that are going through this, for everybody that's been impacted by the actions of Sherrone Moore.
Shame on Sherrone Moore. When you are in a position of power, when you're the head coach at the University of Michigan, I don't know how much more powerful of a role there is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Your actions have trickle-down effects. Your actions affects others. I feel so bad for his family. I feel so bad for this Michigan team. I really do. Because ever since they won a national championship, it's been nothing but bad story after covering up with PR nightmares after another. It was the Connor Stallions of it all. It was a Netflix docu-series that opened up the doors to a lot of dirty laundry that was going on behind the scenes. It was accusations of cheating. There have now been, conversations of putting asterisks around Michigan's national championship. Your coach gets slapped with a show cause and leaves for the NFL in the middle of the night. Sherrone Moore comes in. And then now this? Reports of him having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. And now there's been, legalities involved. These poor kids didn't sign up for this. I have to imagine every single one of those kids in that locker room dreamed their entire lives of playing college football, in one of the most storied places and most storied programs in college football history. We're talking about Michigan, the big house, a brand that for so long has felt infallible. And now there is a stain on this program over what has happened. The actions of their head coaches over the last 4 years have now cast a very dark shadow over this program. Sherrone Moore is responsible for it. Jim Harbaugh is responsible for it. Anyone who's been in a position of power when the Michigan football program over the last several years is responsible for it. So to that, I say shame on Sherrone Moore for continuing to just cement the stain that has already existed.
Look, there's so much ancillary damage that comes from the actions of any human being. And unfortunately, in my life, I've had friends and family that both did terrible things that resulted in awful things and as much as prison. And one of the crazy things about that is that you live through that as somebody that has supported someone and you try and figure out how to navigate that, right? Sherrone Moore is making a lot of people today have to figure out how to navigate the fact that they have been friends with or are family with. He's got a wife and kids. There are so many people that are impacted by his actions. And it's funny to me because we talk so much about athletes and their ability to handle whatever comes with the platform they get. We talk about college kids going to the NFL or the NBA and how you never know how a kid's going to handle that jump because of the wealth and because of the platform and because of the power and because of the status that comes with it. This is a reminder that oftentimes we need to have those same conversations about coaches because we're seeing a coach that has come into a situation where, frankly, a few years ago, a lot of people casually didn't even know who Sherrone Moore was. And then he became the head coach at Michigan. And all of a sudden you have wealth and you have power and you have status. You have an ability in that program to really be the face of that program. And obviously through these allegations, it's clear that that's been mismanaged. This is a firing for cause that absolutely puts embarrassment on everybody that's ever supported Sherrone Moore in any way in their life. It puts embarrassment on him, which he's frankly earned, and it puts embarrassment on the entire college football program. And now the question becomes, what do you do next? Because, look, there are two separate issues here. We will take Sherrone Moore and we will couch it over here and say there's a real-life issue that is tangible, it's real, it has to be dealt with, and everybody's got to figure it out. Michigan football now has a very real situation with them. We just passed National Signing Day. The transfer portal is about to open. They don't have the grace of time. So many big names in college football have just signed extensions to stay where they are that may not have signed those extensions if Michigan had been an open job. This is one of the premier brands in all of college sports, Caroline. So it makes Michigan also have to figure out how to save their football program moving forward, which is a complicated issue because of the timing.
I mean, this is one of the best jobs in America, and now they are so far behind. I mean, we were talking about Penn State being wildly far behind, and that was a week ago. They filled their head coaching vacancy a week ago. So now Michigan is looking around at the head coaching landscape, and to your point, there's a lot of coaches that were maybe on hot boards at the top of a lot of lists that have now signed extensions. Eli Drinkwitz, Clark Lee, so they're not going anywhere. We have other coaches that have already made their leaps. Unfortunate timing. Lane Kiffin can't be a contender in any of these coaching searches anymore, who was always our go-to anytime there was a head coaching vacancy across college football. So now they are so behind schedule in the coaching search. You have a lot of kids that just signed for National Signing Day who are now probably looking around saying, no, I want to be released from my letter of intent. I want to start looking around, but I don't know who my head coach is going to be. The transfer portal is going to open up soon. So what if you don't have a head coach in place when the transfer portal opens up? Not only are your players going to leave, but you've got players all around the country around the transfer portal that are saying, well, I could go to Michigan or I could go to Ohio State, and Ohio State's a national title contender, has all of their coaches in place, and Michigan looks like a dumpster fire. Yeah, I'll go to Ohio State. So it's all of these dominoes that fall when your head coach gets dismissed. Also, assistant coaches. Assistant coaches have also either pledged their allegiance to their previous head coach that has maybe moved somewhere, or they've signed long-term deals at their existing school. So all of these dominoes that have to fall. So Michigan is wildly behind in the hiring circle. The names that I've heard a lot floated around, though, and these are like the big swings, maybe the pie in the sky type of hires. The first one, Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer. If you're Michigan and you're looking around and saying, well, maybe we're not far behind, because maybe the guy that we want to take a swing on is either coaching right now in the NFL or coaching right now in the college football playoff. I don't know about Kalen DeBoer, Fitz. We heard his name a lot in the Penn State opening. He turned down those rumors in a press conference, said, no, we're happy here, we're committed here. But his name continues to come up, which leads me to believe that maybe Kalen DeBoer isn't 100% happy in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but are we ready for the dynamic? Because to your point, Alabama could go on a deep playoff run. They could win playoff games. Are we ready for the dynamic? We just watched Lane Kiffin leave a team before the playoffs. The hell are we going to do if Kalen DeBoer and Michigan are interested in each other? Like, is Michigan willing to wait till all the way after Alabama's eliminated to hire a coach? Or are they going to try and hire a coach now and then let him continue to coach through the playoffs, which is, again, a very difficult, weird dynamic. And also, what message does that send to his existing team? Like, I think so many of us have said Kalen DeBoer because we believe that maybe he's unhappy simply because Alabama seems unhappy with him every time he loses a football game. But, man, Caroline, that gets dicey for all of college football. And there's no good solution. It's just Michigan can't wait until Alabama's eliminated in my mind. And I'm not sure that the college football world is ready for the optics of a coach in the middle of the playoffs saying, you know what, I'm taking another job. I'm out of here. So that makes Kalen very complicated to me.
Especially the Alabama head coach. Like, this isn't like, hey, Cincinnati a few years ago in the 14 playoff and Luke Fickell was going to go take a better job, quote unquote, better job somewhere else. This is Alabama. Alabama, who just went to the SEC championship game and can legitimately make a run in the college football playoff. So I don't right now view Kalen DeBoer as a legitimate candidate, although his name keeps coming up, which is something that we have to pay attention to. Lincoln Riley is another big swing kind of guy that I've heard a lot in, in the rumor mills, the rumor milling. If I'm Lincoln Riley, though, your life doesn't get any easier going to Michigan. It just gets colder. Like, you're playing the same opponents. You're staying in the same conference. I don't see how going to Michigan would be a step up when you're making $10 million at USC and you get to live in the comfort of Southern California versus Ann Arbor, Michigan. So that doesn't make sense to me, Fitz.
Yeah, I don't think the Lincoln Riley move makes a lot of sense. It would make more sense to me if they looked at somebody like Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, who obviously has a past with the University of Michigan, right? So, like, he was a coach there too. So maybe bringing in somebody like Minter to come back to Michigan makes sense whenever the Chargers season is over, and he can certainly make that decision on a different time frame.
If they want to go back into the well, I think Michigan has to be very sensitive about who they hire. Because they got a lot of dirty laundry going on in Ann Arbor. So Jesse Minter does have a show cause by the NCAA. It doesn't make him unhireable, but he was part of that 2022 Connor Stallions team. So if I'm Michigan, I approach that very lightly, but I do think he would be a smart hire. One name that I think people are throwing around as a joke that I don't think would be a bad move to at least kick the tires on is Brian Kelly. He has ties to that area of the country. He spent his entire career coaching in the Midwest. And if I'm Michigan, my number one priority right now is holding on to our elite talent. That starts with Bryce Underwood, their 5-star quarterback. They got paid the Barstool money, $12 million a year to go to Michigan. Do you know where Bryce Underwood was previously committed before Michigan? For 2 years? with Brian Kelly at LSU. So they have the relationship. And look, I know Brian Kelly isn't the most likable guy in America. Believe you me, I'm fully aware of that. But he does have a relationship with Bryce Underwood. He is a good coach. Like, he did have a winning record at LSU, and he does have ties to that part of the country. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brian Kelly's name come up more and more in this search.
Look, whatever Brian Kelly didn't do at LSU that helped get him fired, maybe getting fired was a wake-up call, and you get a re-energized, revigorated, different version of Brian Kelly. If you're Michigan, the answers are only going to get more difficult, and the timing gets hard because, again, the transfer portal is right around the corner. This isn't about their bowl game, which is December 31st, and they have an interim coach that will take care of that. That's not a problem. It's about the future of the program and making sure you don't lose the recruits that you have this year, that you're able to keep people in the building. Michigan's going to have to act somewhat quickly, and I will remind everybody, whoever's hired is going to have to coach against Ryan Day and Kurt Cignetti all the time, and Lincoln Riley and Dan Lanning. So it's not like it's an exactly easy gauntlet to go up against. We'll keep you updated with any new information we get regarding Sherrone. But coming up next, one of the most magical moments in sports happens this weekend. We'll talk about Army-Navy next. Huge news breaking. First baseman Pete Alonso and the Orioles are finalizing a 5-year, $155 million deal per the great Jeff Passan. Caroline, this is one of those moments where I understand it. I understand why this is happening. I'm not a Mets fan, so I wasn't particularly shocked by it. When I saw the news, I went, oh. But it doesn't change the fact that this is just a bummer. This is sad for a fan base and for a player that, frankly, they love him. He is just absolutely everything that personifies what it means to be a Met. You can't tell the story of being a Met fan for the last several years without talking about Pete Alonso. He has meant so much to the organization. Two things can be true. We all thought maybe this was going to be when he moved on, but also it just stinks that it's happening this way.
I hate this for Mets fans so much. I'm a Cardinals fan. I have no reason to feel bad for Mets fans, but that's how poorly the Mets organization is run that I do feel bad for Mets fans. It's not just the Pete Alonso news, it's also right there. Edwin Diaz, we see, just signed with the Dodgers. So you're seeing two fan favorites. And really, Pete Alonso was the face of the franchise. I mean, our producer, Josh, is a Mets fan. Like, he would know better than anybody how beloved the polar bear was in Queens. So I hate this for Mets fans for so many reasons. One, you can't say that the Mets don't spend money. They spent more money than any other team in Major League Baseball last year, and they were still bad and still missed out on the postseason. So they're spending money, but they're mismanaging that because that's not turning into winning games and going on postseason runs. And then you move on from franchise staples, from fan favorites. And I do understand that when you are a general manager, if you listen to the fans, pretty soon you'll be sitting with them. Because if you listen to the wants and desires and the needs from the fan base, you're not always doing what's best for the team. So I do understand that, sometimes you have to make really difficult sports decisions that might not be the most popular ones with the fan base. And that's probably how you can justify this Pete Alonso move in a vacuum. But when you look at the totality of it all, it just makes me feel so bad for a fan base that feels like it's being a fan base of a team that feels like it's being run by a bunch of ding-dongs.
Well, that's why Mets fans right now feel so much like Charlie Brown running up to the football to me. And sometimes when the football is moved, it's because the Mets just don't win, even though they spent the money. And now the result of not winning, even though you spent the money, is now big names are leaving that mean a lot to you as a fan and meant a lot to your organization, and you're going to have to figure out how to replace them or how to win when you're not spending that money. So if you're a Mets fan, you feel like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You spend the money, you don't win. You don't spend the money, and people leave. And so it's a lose-lose situation for a fan base that is just absolutely ready for some positive. Let's stick in Baltimore, though, because Baltimore is the winner here. The Orioles get a great player. Baltimore is also a winner this weekend. Army-Navy game is back in Baltimore. The first time it's been in Baltimore since 2016. This one, absolutely a big game for both sides, but always just a big game for America. Caroline, we've worked together long enough in college football to know this, but there are a few moments that just stop the sports calendar, like the beginning of the Army-Navy game. It feels like one of the great things that college football leaves it in a standalone window where we all pay attention to just the pageantry, the pomp and circumstance, the players, and the meaning. This is about more, as cheesy as it sounds, it's about more than football. It's about America.
It really is. It's such a special tradition that we have in the sport. We even have our Army-Navy swag behind us. So thank you to our friends over at USAA for sending us some Army-Navy swag, getting us ready for one of the best and biggest games that we have in college football. This just is one that gives you, some of the warm fuzzies, being able to watch this every single year. There's been so many changes, obviously, in college sports. It feels at times like it's a completely different league. It's a completely different sport with NIL and the transfer portal and, so many words that we use on a daily basis that didn't even exist in our vocabulary less than a decade ago. But this feels like one of the untouchable mainstays that we have in this sport, that even though times are changing, some things just stay the same. And Army-Navy has been the same. And I think that can make any sports fan, any American kind of, get a really warm, fuzzy feeling about that.
There's such a incredible, realization for me every year with this, because football's about football so often. For every one of these gentlemen that step on the field, this is just one of the things in their life in such a different way. Like to think about, as I've said often, we get to do what we do every day because people braver and better than us, fought for our freedom and gave us the opportunity to do it. Now, some of those very people that their life's mission is to fight for our freedom, take a break from that fight to play football and entertain us. It's really incredible. Yeah, I got the helmet behind me. This one is just a tradition that hits different. One of the best rivalries in all of college football, right? I think we can agree on that, if you're looking at the best rivalries in college football, there are certain things that you could just say and everybody nods their head. You can say Iron Bowl, you can say the game, you can say Army-Navy, and everybody just nods their head because we all know that one just hits different no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you root for.
Red River, I think, is one of those as well. You
Yeah.
hear Iron Bowl, you hear Egg Bowl, you hear Red River, Texas and Oklahoma, and the Cotton Bowl. You know that game just hits a little bit harder and means a little bit more. Army Navy 1000% is one of those. And there's been so much discussion about the college football calendar, of course, with Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss before their college football playoff run. A lot of people have pointed fingers to the calendar. The calendar is messed up. The calendar is a problem in college football. And moving Army Navy out of this weekend, on a standalone weekend where there's nothing else happening in the college football calendar except that game, a lot of that has been discussed to maybe alleviate some pressure on the calendar. I think there are just some things that should be untouched. And Army Navy being in a standalone weekend right around Christmas time is one of those things that should just be untouched. I have no desire to move that game where it is right now on the calendar.
You could talk me into opening the entire college football season with it. You could talk me into the first game of the year being Army Navy to start the setting right. But you're right. There is something about the cold. There's something about the air. There's something about even the anthem in this one. Like the coats, every angle, every single ounce of it hits different. We can't wait for this one. I'm picking Navy in this game. You picking Navy in this game? Are we both on Navy in this one?
I'm picking Navy in this one mostly because I went to Annapolis for the first time this year for a wedding of a guy that graduated from the Naval Academy. So I got to, really dive into the deep end of all of the Naval Academy traditions, and I kind of fell in love with it. So go Navy, beat Army. Go Goats.
Look at that. I'll show my bias on that. I went to high school not too far from Annapolis. So, yeah, I'm all in on Navy winning this one. Okay, so we will obviously, all eyes will be on that on Saturday. All eyes will also be on the college football playoff. We did get some news yesterday that impacts the college football playoff. Indiana star defensive lineman Stephen Daly out for the CFP after suffering a freak leg injury while high-fiving Hoosiers fans. This is a real story. After they won the Big Ten, Coach wasn't even aware of it after it happened. After they won the Big Ten championship, he was going up and down the boards, and he was jumping up, like hopping up, to high-five fans that were in the front row that were excited about the moment. There was an awkward land, and it turns out that is a serious enough leg injury that nobody's given us a full diagnosis, but the leg injury will have him out for the rest of the season. So they lose one of their biggest stars, one of their most important sack monsters, somebody that really has been a huge part of this defensive line, lost to a freak injury that will absolutely impact the way we feel about Indiana in this playoff.
Yeah, and the video is circulating around social media, and it is so weird and such a freak thing. He barely even jumped off the ground, like you said, to high five a fan. There it is, and then he just landed awkwardly, and then he got carted off the field. Like, just such a weird and fluky thing. So I hate that for him. This is a huge loss for Indiana. Keep in mind that Stephen Daly got more opportunity after Kellen Wyatt got hurt. So you're already, depleted at that position. You're already thin injury-wise at that position. And then you have another guy that stepped in to be so reliable and truly a game wrecker. He was all over the place. He was a key cog in that win over Ohio State. So you're not only losing a guy who's been a massive, contributor for you defensively, you're also losing a guy who was already stepping in for injury. So you're looking at Indiana. Yes, at least they have that bye in the first round of the postseason to get healthy, to figure out what they're going to do at that position, who's going to step in. But you're looking at an Indiana team that might be facing one of the most lethal passing attacks in college football in Alabama. If they do go into Norman, Oklahoma, and take down Oklahoma in the first round of the postseason, that's a passing attack that's going to be able to get a whole lot more done without Stephen Daly than it would with it.
Yeah, I know fair's where a pig gets a ribbon, but it just seems so wildly unfair in life that you can get to this moment on the number one team in the country, and your season ends that way. Our hearts break for Stephen Daly. Thoughts and prayers to his recovery. Hopefully that is seamless for him, and hopefully it doesn't impact Indiana too much in these playoffs. All right, coming up, we have a statement game for both sides this weekend, a massive AFC matchup for the ages. We'll tell you about it next.
Playing like a veteran quarterback. He's seen things extremely well. He plays at a great pace. Things looks like things have slowed down for him, which again, we hate to see that, right? But I'm happy for how well he's playing because he's a great human being on top of being a football player, and we just gotta find a way to win on Sunday.
The mutual respect is thick right now as the Bills are prepared to take on the Patriots. Patriots quarterback Drake May on Josh Allen said it's a little different when you're playing the MVP, one of the best players in the league. Shoot, I hate to say it, but he's fun to watch when he's playing. Big fan of him off the field. He's been great to me. Like, this is just a reminder.
Josh is just buttering him up.
I'm just saying.
A lot of politicking from the old Josh Allen there.
It is funny to me that fans hate other fans of other teams far more than players on those same teams hate each other. It's just a reminder. But this is a wild statement game because, Caroline, everybody's sitting here trying to figure out what we can believe in. Like, it's the back and forth, the seesaw or teeter-totter, depending on where you're from, of the Buffalo Bills season, where it's like everybody says, yeah, they're going to win the Super Bowl. No, they stink. Yeah, they're going to win. It's back and forth every week. And then on the other side, you've got this Patriots team that's just out there doing the thing. They're just winning every single week, and they get so little respect in that process that Vegas thinks they're the underdog this weekend, even though they've got the 11-2 record. So I don't know who has more to prove to you on Sunday.
I think it's the Bills because I think the Bills need to prove to themselves, to all of us, that they're not going to go down in this division without a fight. That they're going to go, if they go down, they're going to go down swinging. I think what put the Patriots on the map for me, and I think for a large portion of the football society, is when the Patriots were able to beat the Bills. Because at that point, yes, the Patriots looked really good. And yes, the Patriots, had a great win-loss record, but they were beating teams like, the Dolphins and the Panthers before the Panthers had really figured out their offensive identity. And then when they beat the Bills, it was like, oh, okay, so this team's legit. And I think, looking at the Bills, they need to prove to me and probably to themselves and to everyone else, like they can string several wins together because that's not what they've been doing consistently this season. They have been such a Jekyll and Hyde team. They've been so hot and cold. It's been win-loss, win-loss. And they've been able to piece together wins against the crummy-crappy Steelers and the crummy-crappy Bengals. Okay, now win a third game in a row for the first time since the fourth week of the season against a legitimate team, against an AFC contending type of team. I want to see the Bills find some consistency and take down a team that's been the belle of the ball in the AFC East all season long.
So I hear you on all of that, but I feel like the other side of this is the Patriots side where, frankly, the New England Patriots are the NFL equivalent of the college football Indiana Hoosiers. Like, nobody wants to pay attention. And I don't know how to change that. And this is where everybody says, well, strength of schedule. I'd like to remind everybody that this Patriots team has already beaten the Bills once this year. So this game is for a season sweep of the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Bills in Buffalo already this year. So to me, there is some level of at what point do we stop everything that we thought we would see of the Patriots this year and acknowledge who they actually are. Now, again, Vegas thought that they would be the favorite in, 11 games? So Vegas thought they were already going to be an 11-win team. I'm not sure most of us thought they'd be this good, but they are. And so at some point, what makes us pay attention? to me, you pay attention when you get big wins over big names, especially big names that play lights out. The way that we can actually all decide if we're going to jump on the Patriots bandwagon is if the Bills go out and play their best football, Drake May and the Patriots still win. It feels like everybody is so eager. Like we got one toe in the water to just jump off any sort of a bandwagon for the Patriots that they've got to come out and handle, I think, the best blows from Buffalo. If Buffalo comes out and plays sloppy, the narrative won't be, well, the Patriots made them play sloppy. The narrative will be, look at how up and down the Bills are, right? Like the only way the Patriots change some of these narratives is if the Bills come out and just punch them in the face. They take that punch and they still win the game, because I think that's what most of us want to see to really buy in on the Patriots all the way through the playoffs.
And to be fair, I think that we can kind of nitpick the Patriots schedule a little bit because, like I said, nobody really took the Patriots seriously until they beat the Bills. Well, since then, they've beaten the Saints, who suck, the Titans, who suck, the Browns, who suck, the Falcons, who suck, the Bucks, who don't suck, the Jets, who suck, the Bengals, who suck, and the Giants, who suck. So I think to your point, the Patriots have to prove to me and to all of us, one, beating the Bills the first time was not a fluke. And two, we can beat the best teams in the AFC and in the NFL. We've just beaten who's on our schedule, and we just happen to have a crap schedule. So this is a massive prove-it game for both of these teams. Both of these teams have a narrative kind of lingering over it. For the Bills, it's lack of consistency, which is true. For the Patriots, it's, well, that's a great and cute story and all. You haven't played anybody, Paul, and that is true. It's a narrative buster for both of these teams.
So the other part of it, look at the odds right now. The Bills are the favorite right now. They have the shortest odds to try and to win the AFC. And to your point, all of those teams that you're talking about that are bad, well, I mean, there aren't that many great wins of late for the Bills either, right? And so after this game, the Bills get the Browns and the Jets for 2 of their last 3 games. They do have the Eagles left. I feel like if and when the Bills get into the playoffs, no matter how all this plays out, everybody's going to be looking for a reason to say, oh, you don't want to face the Buffalo Bills. And the reason is Josh Allen. We saw it last week. Like for 3 quarters of that game, I really sat there and thought, man, I can't believe this is the way that the Bills season is going to go down in flames against this Bengals team. They just don't have it. And then all of a sudden, Josh Allen said, not today, not you, fat Jesus. He went full MVP, just beast mode. And the way he ran the football and the way he took advantage of that defense, like Josh Allen truly is a cheat code. So it's funny to me that because we rightfully so want to heap so much benefit of the doubt on Josh Allen, this is about what we've seen and just the ability to be superhuman and the ability to save your team when they need that play. We have no idea if that's how Drake May is built right now. We have no idea if that's how the Patriots offense is built right now. I know this. If the Bills are down by 21, it's not over because I've seen them do crazy things with Josh Allen. If the Patriots are down by 21, I have no idea. And that's, I think, part of the reason why it's tough to buy in to the Patriots' success through the playoffs, because games just get weird. So, I say to you all the time, what are you going to do on 3rd and 7? Well, it's also, what are you going to do when the game gets weird? What do you do when the other team has taken you out of your comfort zone? What do you do when you're clearly having to scratch and claw your way back into a football game? I have no idea what the Patriots look like in that situation against an actually good team.
I have 1,000% trust in the Bills in the postseason or a game like this with so much on the line when their backs are against the wall. When you're down 2 scores, when you're down double digits at half, you can't count the Bills out. Reverse that. If the Bills are down 2 scores at half, the Patriots are down 2 scores at half. All right, Drake May, let's see what you got. That's another kind of prove-it element of all of this. Josh Allen has proven to all of us time and time again that he will not be counted out. That Josh Allen can make those, oh my gosh, what in the world just happened kind of plays, that he can put his team squarely back into a game, that he can say, all right, don't worry about it, I got it. Let me put Superman's cape back on and put this team on my back and do something wild and crazy and will us to victory. We know Josh Allen can do that. What about Drake May? I love what I've seen from Drake May. He is so cool. He is so calm. He never gets too high. He never gets too low. He has this kind of veteran presence about him that you don't see in a second-year quarterback really ever. Definitely not very often. But what happens when your backs are against the wall in a game like this and against an opponent like this, taking on a quarterback that you know can make special things happen on any given down at any point in the game? What are you going to do?
I also, though, so here's the moment that I grab my backpack. I get my little Bills flag and I put it in my backpack and I start climbing Everest, which is a daunting climb for me. And I get all the way to the top of the mountain and I plant that flag. And the flag that I'm planting for the Bills has James Cook's face squarely on it. Dude, you got to hold on to the football. You got to stop. Whatever this thing is where you're just throwing the football away willy-nilly, wherever this thing is in. And look, that fumble that you're looking at right there was not some glorious great. Like sometimes fumbles happen where you just look at it and say, for the love of God, how's anyone supposed to hold on to that? Nope. James Cook, you've had inexcusable drops of the ball that have put your team in a bad situation, and you are the only person not named Josh Allen that any of us think can actually generate something here. I think James Cook, at his best, is one of the best and most slept-on players in the league, and I'm watching this, and it makes my blood boil. I'm looking at it saying, you've got to hold on to the football, because as much as we're going to make this about Josh Allen, let's be clear. Josh Allen has to save the Bills in part because James Cook has put the Bills in situations where they need to be saved. The real method to this is for James Cook to be the best of himself. The version that we saw a couple of weeks ago, a couple of times with over 100 yards, efficiency, blasting with the football, running hard, able to make guys miss, doing all the things that we know that James Cook can do. If James Cook is at his best, I would argue that this game would be better for the Bills if it's not all on Josh Allen, if it's not in Josh Allen's hands to be Superman every single time. Problem is, right now, like I have trust issues with James Cook not giving the game away. I'm not sure TreVeyon Henderson's going to get enough look from the Patriots for me to believe that they'll commit to making him a star. I need James Cook to be that star.
The number one narrative going into this game is going to be Drake May versus Josh Allen. And it should be. I have no problem with that. Where I think this game can be won and lost for either of these teams, run game versus run defense. Both of these teams have running backs that can slice and dice you. When I look at, when I watch any of these games on any given Sunday and I watch what TreVeyon Henderson can do, the load that he can take off of Drake May, same thing with James Cook, when it doesn't always have to be Josh Allen doing something wild and crazy and like borderline idiotic. I feel so much better in the Bills' chances of winning games when James Cook can carry the rock for 100 plus. The difference is, though, the Patriots have a top 3 run defense in the NFL. The Bills have a bottom 5 run defense in the NFL. And you can chalk that up to, okay, well, the Patriots have a much lighter schedule, so it's much easier to stop the run whenever they're not running it because you're playing opponents that are down, so they have to keep throwing the football. Like, of course you can pick apart those numbers in that ranking where they are. The schedule tells so much of this story, but still, it's going to be harder for James Cook to get things going against this Patriots defense than it is the Steelers run D or maybe the Bengals run D. That might be the difference in this game beyond the quarterbacks.
All right, so who you picking?
I'm taking the Bills. It's not going to be that easy for the Patriots. Oh, you had the greatest quarterback of all time for 20 years and won 6 championships. You were bad for like 2 years. Now you have your next franchise quarterback, and then, in his second year and your first year head coach and Mike Vrabel, you sweep the Bills and win the division. It's not that easy. It's never that easy in the National Football League. So I think that the Bills are coming back for a vengeance. The Bills are coming back to claim their territory in the AFC East. I think the Bills are extra fired up for this one. We get some Josh Allen razzle-dazzle.
I am riding the bandwagon with the Minuteman outfit on and feel dirty doing it. I think the Patriots capitalize on mistakes by the Bills because that's what they've done this year. They've made mistakes times in key games. And your run defense stat is an important one here. I think the Patriots are actually able to control some time of possession in this one. It's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be just a downright dirty game. I'll take the Patriots to win in a close one, and let's just see where it goes from there. We'll get some thoughts on the entire NFL coming up next. We've got plenty to break down. Brandon Perna going to join us next. We'll get some thoughts on the Broncos, who deserve some love in this conversation also. The Denver Post tweets out, Broncos fan finds massive YouTube show success with a mix of the profane, the inane, and unabashed homerism. Love every single ounce of that. Brandon Perna is the Broncos fan that the Post was writing about, the massive YouTube success. He can be enjoyed over on That's Good Sports. Brandon, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. We'll get to the Broncos in just a second. So much more. Got plenty to get to. Let's start with that giant wheel behind you in the photo we just saw, the curse wheel. So tell the audience about the curse wheel and how it's worked, because you believe that you have curse powers. What do you got? How's it working?
Yeah, it started, because of general superstition for sports fans. And when I first started doing power rankings, I think when I was putting a team at number one, they kept losing. So, and then everybody said, you're cursing the number one ranked team. And I decided we needed to up the ante and bring in a gimmick, because I was struggling for views, if I'm being really honest. And if you know anything about YouTube, a good gimmick goes a long way. And for whatever reason, the accuracy of just spinning a wheel has turned into mastery of the dark arts. I have studied the Necronomicon to make this wheel work, and I spend hours and hours every week to make sure it is potent and accurate. And I feel bad because this season specifically, it's attacked the Indianapolis Colts, who are one of the best stories of the year. They're the team I ranked number one week one, and every time they have lost, all of their losses, the wheel has landed on them. And this last week, I was in the Colts Reddit and a little scared for the first time based on some of the responses from fans.
Our very own Severus Snape here on the show. So let's stick with the Colts, because you have been all over this Phillip Rivers news on Twitter. I know 44-year-old Phillip Rivers coming back to the NFL after sitting on his couch for the last 5 years. I know he's been coaching high school football, everybody. I'm aware of that, but hasn't been on an NFL football field. Yesterday, we broke down some athletes that have found a ton of success after retiring and then coming back. George Foreman, Gordie Howe. What does success for Phillip Rivers look like for the Indianapolis Colts to you, or have you just cursed them into oblivion?
No, I think the curse wheel did all of this just to get Rivers back on the field. I think this was the plan, and I think he's going to succeed. I think any man who is approaching 40 who has hit 40, whether they were a Rivers fan or not, is rooting for Phil to succeed. And the way he played, like, if we're being honest, I think he's okay. He never moved around a lot. I watched a lot of Phillip Rivers. He's a statue in the pocket, but he gets rid of the ball quickly. As long as his ability to process defenses picks up, where he left off, then I think he's going to be okay. I think the question is, it's how long he's been away from the game, how much has, the defense and how defenses are deployed, how much has that changed? Where's he going to be at when he's, behind center? I think that's what I find curious versus his actual age, because he's also very durable in his career. And the last time he played for Indy, he was playing really good football. Even in the loss to the Bills in the playoffs, he had a pretty good game. So when he actually retired, it felt like he could keep playing, and it was just his choice to not continue playing. So I'm optimistic, maybe blindly, but Phillip is also the only player who I hated Phillip Rivers as a Broncos fan. He got into it with Jay Cutler back in the day when Cutler was starting with Denver, and Rivers annoyed me. And he's the only player who ever completely turned me, because now Rivers is one of my all-time favorite players in football history. So I'm rooting for Phil. I need him to succeed.
So if the curse wheel manifested that, the real question is, are the Broncos even on the curse wheel? Can the curse wheel somehow land on Denver?
Yeah, I have to have him on there. You can't try to manipulate it. It doesn't work. If you try to manipulate it, I've tried to, put the Chiefs on there multiple times, and it's they've gotten to the Super Bowl every year. So I stay true to it. I spin it once, sometimes twice, and, see what happens.
Okay, Brandon, just then I got to know, because you're a Broncos fan. I'm a Raiders fan. I have my helmet behind me. What the hell am I going to have to do to get you to take the Raiders off the curse wheel? Like, okay, and I'm beaten down. You win.
Yeah.
I lose. I'm sorry for my entire, I just get them off the wheel, man. Get them off the wheel.
Yeah, they're not on. So it's only the top 14 or 15 teams in the league.
Never mind.
They're just authentically
Raiders,
bad.
That hurts.
Talk about a
thank you.
disappointing season.
Thank
I
you
thought
so
the Raiders
much.
were going to be respectable this year. I thought they're going to be competitive.
You and me both. Yeah, Caroline asked him a question. I'm going to drink. I'm just going to go drink.
Just as long as everybody's having fun, I just hope there's a lot of fun to be had in Vegas, right? Yeah. So obviously you're a diehard Broncos fan. We did see yesterday former Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson tweet this out. He said, quote, "Man, I got to get back to balling and being me, back to my first 10. It's time to go dark." What do you make of old Mr. Unlimited's tweet yesterday?
Yeah, he was responding to someone who said Russell Wilson from 2017 to 2020 would be the best quarterback in the NFL this season or something like that?
Yeah.
I root for Russ. I think he's struggling with where he's at in his career, and I think what made Russell Wilson so special early in his career was his elite athleticism. And I think, he's lost a step, and some of the things he used to be able to do from the QB position, he just can't do anymore. So it's kind of fitting, talking about this and talking about Rivers coming back, and Wilson's a guy who, when you're looking at super athletic quarterbacks who succeed now, it's how they evolve with the game, where what kind of success are they going to have later in their career? And in terms of being himself, I think he's probably alluding to the fact that since he's left Seattle, he tried to make it work in Denver, then he tried to do what Sean Payton wanted, and then he went into Pittsburgh and probably tried to do what they wanted, and maybe he feels like he is a little limited in what he's been asked to do on the field, but I know what he's saying. I just don't think he's going to get back to, 2017 Russ.
I mean, we can all try and manifest getting back there. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
You lived through Russ watching that. You're now watching Bo Nix. It feels like a lot of us have had a minute where we're trying to figure out exactly who Bo Nix is. Who is Bo Nix to you?
He's just the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
Of course.
Since Peyton Manning and since John Elway.
Okay.
He saved my team. Him and Sean Payton have saved the Broncos. Bo is a very solid quarterback who is developing and getting better. And I think this season we thought Bo should be better earlier in the year based on the experience he had last year with Sean, knowing the offense. And I think it just took a while for things to start to click for them. But I think Bo, kind of like Russ, gets a lot of unfair criticism, and I'm not sure why that is. I think there's a lot of people who had Bo graded low on their draft board, and they really want to be right that he's not as good as he's playing. And I, through a season where they're at 11 wins and they win 9 and 10 in a row. At some point, you just got to be like, okay, he's playing pretty good football. And against the Raiders last week, it wasn't a glamorous game, but those 8+ minute drives over and over again, you got to have a quarterback who's not making mistakes, who's not putting the ball in harm's way to do that. And I felt like that was one of their better victories, but since it was against your Raiders, everybody wants to say, they should have beat them by 25 points or whatever, but I thought it was one of their better games.
I agree.
What was
Can
your
this team
take
win a
on
Super?
that game watching?
No, you're 1,000% right. The Raiders, part of for everybody that says the Broncos should have won by more, I think if you go back and you watch this, a nerd stat for me, but look at number of snaps. When you talk about sustained drives, it changes the ability to have enough possessions to really create a blowout. So a lot of bad teams are trying to figure out a way to get more snaps. That's been a problem for the Raiders all year. But the Broncos in that game, sustainable drives meant clock control. And the minute they had clock control, they weren't going to score enough to really murder them. But it was a 10-point win that easily could have turned into much bigger. So, yeah, I thought it was an impressive win by Denver and a much better effort than Denver showed against the Raiders just a couple of weeks ago on that Thursday night game for sure.
That was a
Do
weird
you
game.
trust Bo enough to win a Super Bowl?
I do. And the reason I trust Bo Nix is he plays his best football when the pressure is on. So even his rookie year, there was this weird thing that happened where right before halftime, when they kind of went to that hurry up offense, it was like Bo would be struggling all game, and then those 2 minutes before halftime played really well. And then to, close out games, it was more of a mixed bag the rookie year. This year, like when they need a drive for like 9 out of 10 times they have put it together. And I think to win a Super Bowl, you need a QB who can do those things. It might not be perfect all game or, pretty all game, but yeah, he's clutch. And that's when I think he starts just playing by instinct and not like overthinking things. And I think in a Sean Payton offense, I think we were overly optimistic on, it's a very complicated thing and that Bo should have it completely understood in year 2. And I think it's more like a 4-year program before you're really able to digest all the things that Sean wants to do.
Yeah, I think Clutch Bo is pretty undeniable. Also undeniable, 7 months ago, you made a YouTube video on Shedeur Sanders titled The Real Shedeur Sanders, the Real Reason Shedeur Sanders Fell in the Draft. Nearly 1 million views on that thing. So why did he fall in the draft? How are you feeling about it now?
I can't even remember why I said he fell in the draft. It was all the reasons that he fell. I think there was a disconnect between where the public continued to believe he was going to get drafted versus where NFL teams graded him. And I think we see a lot of that, before drafts anyway. There's a lot of like information that's smoke screens out there. And when we heard that Shedeur might not go in the first round at all, I was like, that's probably just teams trying to not tip what they want to do. But I watched him at CU, and I'll preface this by saying, like, I've never been a Deion Sanders fan. I always found Deion annoying. And when the Buffs hired him, I was excited because I knew what kind of attention that Deion brought. So I only say that because when I started watching the Buffs, I was like, Shedeur's really good. Like, I kind of like wanted a reason to not like Shedeur, but he earned my respect just by watching him at CU. I saw him make a lot of NFL throws, so I've been rooting for him. And if you pay attention to like him and his brother, I think they're very funny. They're talking. His brother was asking him this week, like if he was wearing a thong in the game, and he was talking about it was just his back was taped up. So like they have a good sense of humor about everything, and I think for whatever reason the perception is different from publicly. But he's played pretty good since he's been the starter there, and I hope he continues to. And I hope, Cleveland has some sort of answer for their quarterback position at the end of this season.
All right, last one before we get you out of here. This is a family show, so we're going to keep it PG, but we did see a very not PG video of Mike Kafka, the Giants interim head coach, circulating on socials yesterday, just letting the F-bombs fly in team meetings. And the cutaways to the players were absolutely hilarious. You could see Mike Kafka getting all worked up, and the players were just totally and completely stoic. What do you make of this, cursing Mike Kafka? Is that the right way? Is that the right communication style? Is going to get this season turned around for the Giants?
I don't know if it's going to get the season turned around. I saw the clip. I didn't watch it, but I think without watching it, I'm just going to say he probably didn't curse enough. I think he can do more.
Probably fair.
Yeah. We're working on a Giants video, so I'm sure we'll get this in there.
Look, I just, if you could figure out the opposite of a curse wheel for me and just put, the Raiders as the only thing on, just spin it until like maybe some voodoo doll, something, turn it around for me.
Blessing wheel, if you will.
A blessing wheel.
Yes.
We're going to start a blessing wheel, maybe start the lower half. You guys can follow him on social media at That's Good Sports on YouTube, obviously at Brandon Perna out there on X. Really appreciate your time, Brandon. Congratulations on all the success. Your content's absolutely great. We really appreciate you hanging out with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Brandon.
This is fun.
Great stuff from Brandon, even though I just found out that my team's so bad it can't even get on the curse wheel. Oh, yeah. Lions-Rams taking each other on one of the biggest matchups of the weekend. We'll figure out what's at stake next. Do you remember when this trade happened? The Rams received Matt Stafford, and then the Lions received a bunch of picks, a bunch of pieces, Jared Goff, which was part of a salary dump we thought at the time. But those picks resulted in Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jamison Williams, Melanfamu, Martin, and Pascal. Like, when you look at the across the landscape of this, when you start talking about massive, massive trades, we always make this about quarterbacks. This is a reminder. It was about more than quarterbacks. But it is rare to have two teams turn around and say, hey, we both kind of got what we needed out of this. As we have a Lions-Rams matchup this weekend, Caroline, it is a good moment to look back and just remind ourselves that both teams here got what they wanted out of a trade. The Rams got a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The Lions certainly put themselves in the Super Bowl conversation, which never would have happened with the way the roster was constructed. Rare to have a win-win. I would call this trade that.
It's hard to find a trade in sports where everybody wins. This feels like it's pretty darn close. And to see such a blockbuster trade like this was be such a win-win for both teams, I think is so rare. Obviously, the Rams win. Right now, the Rams have won this trade because they have a ring. Because Matthew Stafford was able to win a Super Bowl in Los Angeles. But what Jared Goff brought Detroit was success. I mean, for so many years, the Lions were just swimming through the sea of suck. They were terrible. Couldn't win playoff games. So that's what Jared Goff has done, has brought them that much closer to also winning a ring and to ultimately getting to the mountaintop. So yeah, I'm with you that this is as close to a win-win that it feels like blockbuster trades can offer in sports.
Well, and there's still time on this. That's the other part of this. Like,
So
right
plenty
now,
of time.
I think if you're going to say who won the trade, to me right now, the Rams got the Super Bowl. So they won the trade. But also I want to remind everybody that Jared Goff just turned 31. All right. So he has plenty
That's
of time
crazy.
left. There are some young players here. Like, if the Lions turn around and win a Super Bowl, they've certainly been in that contention. If the Lions turn around and win a Super Bowl, I can say that they won the trade. So I think there's still plenty of time left on this, even though Matthew Stafford may not have 6-7 years left in his career. Obviously, there are still 6 or 7 years left for the Lions to feel the ramifications of this trade. So with this game coming across over the weekend, the real question is, which offense is more unstoppable? We got star power on both sides. Which one you banking on more, Caroline?
It's the Rams, and it is not even close. You mean to tell me that I get MVP caliber Matthew Stafford with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, the way that they are running the football consistently, and you're coached by one of the, if not the brightest offensive minds in the sport of football? Yeah, I'll take the Rams. Lions are great and all, but if the question is Rams offense or, my answer will always be Rams offense.
You said everything the right way with the wrong team. It's the Lions offense, and it's not even close, all right? So this
Not
is
even
the thing. Like,
close.
not even
Fitz.
close.
Fitz.
I don't think that there's a more unstoppable player right now. There's not a more dynamic, oh, my God, I don't want the ball in his hands player in the entire NFL on any team than Jahmyr Gibbs. If I need one play from one player, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs. So now the question is, do I like Puka Nacua and Devontae that much better than I like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams? Oh, also, I'm going to throw Sam Laporta into that conversation, who is starting to have a little bit more of the bounce back here from what we saw from year one. You look at the dynamic weapons and the ability to hurt you all over the place. Yes, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum are good, but the difference between Montgomery and Gibbs versus Williams and Corum is so staggering, and I don't think the difference between the wide receiver cores is that staggering. I think Amon-Ra is right on the same level as Puka and Devontae. So, Jamison Williams is obviously not quite to that level, but Jahmyr Gibbs becomes the tiebreaker for me. I think there is not a scary – if you're just looking at the weapons, there ain't a scarier offense in the entire NFL to me than the Lions.
Okay, if it's a difference of, very slim margins here, who do you trust more? Sean McVay or Dan Campbell?
That's not a fair question because you win that one.
It is so a fair question. If we're talking about a better offense or which offense do we trust more, put me and you out there with Sean McVay, and I might defer to the team that's being coached by Sean McVay. That's how much respect I have for Sean McVay as an offensive mind. That's why I defer to the Rams, and also the level of play that we're getting from these two quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is having a career here. Jared Goff has been good at times, great at times, elite at times, but we've also seen him be Stinky McStink at times this season.
Stinky McStink should be put on the back of his jersey. Here's the thing. That man right there, Dan Campbell. If I'm going to put 53 men in a room, and I want to pick which coach in the NFL I think can get the most out of those 53 men, just the most effort, the most give a damn, the most explosion, the most I will come to work and I will do it every day, I think Dan Campbell might be the best in the league at that. I think that there are
great
very few
and
coaches,
cute and all,
right.
Fitz. Who do you trust more
Thanks.
on 3rd and 7?
I trust Sean McVay way more. Like if I need a
Okay.
game, if we're coming to the huddle and the question is effort, I want Dan Campbell to chew everybody's ass out because I know they're going to run through walls.
Of course.
If we're coming into the huddle and it's like, all right, it's 3rd and 27 and I need to play, and Dan Campbell starts speaking, that's when Sean McVay just takes his finger out, puts it on his lips, and says, "Shh, I got this, coach." Right? Like that. There is no offensive mind. I don't think that I trust more in the entire NFL than Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay, Andy Reid, both sort of in that category. But Sean McVay, man, you want somebody that can scheme guys open. You want somebody that can absolutely give you one formation but 52 twists out of it that are going to confuse the defense. It's Sean McVay. So you're right. If I'm putting the coaches into this equation, which in fairness I probably didn't weigh enough, that does become a little bit of a change. All right. So the Rams favored by 6 at home. You say
Which
that
is
the
shocking.
Rams. Yeah, I mean that's a big number, but you
6
think
points.
the Rams are clearly the best team in the NFL, right? Like you've said this. So
Yes.
would a loss against the Lions make you rethink that, or are the Lions so good that we can excuse any result any way it happens?
It would make me reevaluate things, I think, just a little bit. But to that point, this is still a really good Lions team. I think what would make it even worse is, okay, now you have the Rams who took the brutal loss to the Panthers, bounced back in a big way against the crummy, crappy Cardinals, spotted 45 points. Then if they drop to the Lions, it's like, okay, well, now you have a Rams team that looks like they have cracks in the armor, right? So it would maybe evaluate things a little bit. I think you have to. I think you have to take every single, result that we have in the NFL and you have to analyze it. You can't just throw one out because it's not conducive for your narrative. But I think the Lions, when they are playing their best brand of football, they can beat anybody in the NFL. When the Lions are playing to the highest of their abilities, I think they can be and are the best team in the NFL. The issue is, though, we just don't see them play to that level at a consistent enough level. So I would chalk it up to, okay, well, if the Rams lose to the Lions, we probably saw the Lions play their best brand of football. And I've given the Lions their flowers when they're playing their best brand of football. So I can't all of a sudden say, well, okay, season's over for the Rams, no longer Super Bowl contenders. No, I think whoever wins this game and whoever loses this game, frankly, of course, the way that it happens and the matter in which it happens has to matter. But I think winner or loser, still Super Bowl contenders.
This game is not about the Rams. This game to me is all about the Lions. Because the Rams lose this game, they're still going to go to the playoffs. They're still going to be in this thing. The Rams currently, where they sit right now, they're 10-3. They lose this game, they'll be 10-4. They're still squarely in the playoff hunt. They're going to be just fine. And when we get to the playoffs, everyone's going to say, "Oh my God, I don't want to have to take on McVay." No matter how it goes in the NFC West, right? I buy that. The Lions right now, if the playoffs started today, the Lions would not be in. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. The Lions are out of the playoff picture today. You lose this game, things don't get easier to find your way into the playoff picture. So this is quickly turning into desperation mode. It's not turning into, it is. This is desperation mode. The Lions have to win this game because they can't afford. And then you look at what they got coming. They got the Steelers, the Vikings. But that last game, again, that's at Chicago. That game is outside at Chicago. I don't love the thought of Jared Goff being outside at Chicago. I don't love the thought of what's ahead of the Lions if they lose this game. If they lose this game, they're going to need so much help from everybody else. They're going to need the Bears to fall apart. That's not what we thought this Lions season would be. So it's about them. So let me ask you this then. If we're looking at it right now, if you had to decide like one side or the other, if you looked at the Lions, more likely you think the Lions go to the playoffs or you think the Lions miss it right now?
I think they make the playoffs. I do, but I'm really nervous about that Bears game at the end of the season. The Lions, let's say if they beat the Rams this weekend, they have the Steelers and the Vikings. Those are two games that they should absolutely positively be able to win. if all things go well for the Bears, then that last spot, that last wild card spot in the NFC may very well come down to Bears Lions. And I don't trust Jared Goff in the cold. I don't trust Jared Goff outside. Just go back to that Philly game. It was so terrible. So I'm gonna say I think that they make the playoffs because I think if the Lions get in, like that's not a team that you want to face. The fact that I can say a team that I think could potentially win the Super Bowl might not even make the playoffs, I think is indicative of how deep and competitive this NFC is. I say they make the playoffs, but man, that game against Chicago does not make me feel great about their chances.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about this because I mean Chicago's got a gauntlet left. We've talked about this before. I'll remind everybody again. The Chicago Bears will take on the Cleveland Browns in a game this weekend where the temperature is forecasted to feel like it's -20. So don't tell me there's anything we can predict. Then they get the Packers, then they get the 49ers, then they get the Lions. The Bears have a gauntlet in front of them. But if the Lions lose this game, they are so far back at this point to try with so little wiggle room left. I'm pretty stunned. I think the Lions will make the playoffs, and I think the Lions, if they play their best in the playoffs, have a real shot at the Super Bowl. But this is the least comfortable I have felt with the Detroit Lions in several years. And that just, like, the last couple of years, it's been why not Detroit? So now it's why Detroit, and that's a much different mindset to take on it. All right, we'll keep breaking it down. Got a lot to get to. We are just getting rolling on the show. Coming up next, we'll get some thoughts on the Chicago Bears from somebody that knows incredibly well. Lil Rel Howery going to join us next. We'll talk some Bears. Let's go back in time for a moment, shall we? What you see here is actor and comedian Lil Rel Howery celebrating the Bears' victory over my beloved Raiders in Week 4. I'm sure a lot of Bears fans think that's when their season truly began. They started 1-2, and then all they did was crush my dreams and go on a run now that I can't even imagine what it feels like. Lil Rel Howery joins us now. You can find his hilarious stand-up special, Rel Talk, on Tubi, and his new movie, Unexpected Christmas on Stars. Thanks for joining us, man. Hit us with some Rel Talk on the Bears. Stumbled last week in Green Bay. What's your confidence in a Super Bowl run, my friend?
Oh, I'm not going that far. I take it one game at a time. I'm not like one of those Bears fans. It's like, yeah, we're gonna. Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not participating. I have to tell my friends every week, one game at a time. One game at a, like, for real. And I'm serious. One game at a time. Like I'm, I don't know. And I'm nervous about this week because I like Shedeur a lot. So, and we don't put no pressure on the football. So I think he's gonna have a field day no matter what the weather is.
Yeah, I as a pessimistic fan of my own teams myself, you're speaking to my soul. Hope is a heartache. Prove it to me week over week. And look, that's what Caleb Williams has done largely this season, but he is still getting his fair share of criticism. And one thing that I know about Chicago is Chicago fans are going to tell it like it is. They are not going to sugarcoat it when it comes to their teams. So, what do you think Caleb Williams has to do to fully win over the city of Chicago and prove himself as the franchise quarterback?
You have to have better vision and stop trying to make a huge play all the time. Like it's just annoying at this point. Because even with last week, that interception didn't have to happen. It only happens because, first of all, for some reason, and I'm gonna just keep it 100. That's why it's just crazy that you have me on here. But his offensive awareness is so low to me. Like I don't know what he's looking at most of the time. When I went to that Raiders game, I was flabbergasted about how many times I saw receivers open, and he for some reason couldn't see it, and all he does is run and try to throw. The only way I feel like he know how to throw the football if it's a big play, and that's so annoying. Like everything don't have to be a big play, man. Plant your feet, throw the ball.
So here's the real question. They put the graphic up a second ago. It's going to be -20 in that game. Let's say, the Bears call Lil Rel, and they're like, hey, we want you on the sidelines. Come hang out. -20. Are you out there? Like, are you out with the people? What are you wearing to stay warm? Like, what's the threshold of pain for -20 look like?
I can handle that. Like, honestly, like all you
Oof.
gotta do is you just gotta layer up. Because I grew up like that. I mean, my birthday is December 17th. You know what I mean? So like, I have all the coldest birthdays. You know what I mean? So like I'm used to it. So I would just layer up. I feel bad for I mean what what's interesting? As long as you're active, which is why like the football players, I think they're gonna be okay. This is Bears weather, man. So there's no complaints coming from this side.
You worried about Shedeur being able to handle that sort of cold? Because that is cold for somebody who's not
That's
used to it.
cold.
He's in Cleveland, man. And he played in
Yeah, that's
Colorado,
fair.
so he should be okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's kind of the -20 cold though is cold that I don't even care if you grew up in Antarctica. It's the kind of cold that I don't know if anybody can get used to, but it'll absolutely be, a fun matchup between these two. You said you're a Shador fan. We've seen
Yeah.
a lot of good from Shador. His game against Tennessee, even in a loss, threw for over 300 yards, like career day for him in a short career, albeit. We've seen some not so good from Shador as well, some rookie mistakes. Is Shedeur Sanders Cleveland's franchise quarterback moving forward?
If he's not, he's gonna be somebody else's. If he's not, he's gonna be somebody. He looks great. It's interesting because it's like I feel like he gets way more criticism. Like Dylan Gabriel wasn't really good, and I don't hear nobody talking about that. Like he was literally just okay. And Shador has been able to do what he's done with, really, no real reps or anything like that. He looks great. He looked great in college. Like Deion Sanders did an amazing job developing his son. Like when you look at for instance, like the Manning brothers, right? Eli is one of those interesting. Like nobody talks about Eli much because Eli won a Super Bowl, but like Eli made so many mistakes, but no, but nobody like criticized because when it was time to win, he won. And I feel like Shador it's been really showing up the same way. It's just a weird situation to be in. I'll still never understand why he went so late in the draft. And you're looking at it, honestly, watching this season, some of these choices didn't make any sense.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot then. As a Bears fan, would you rather have Caleb Williams as the starting quarterback of your favorite team for the next 5 years, or Shedeur Sanders?
Damn.
You just broke him.
Ask.
Shedeur Sanders.
There we go.
Ooh.
There we go.
Dang, that's crazy. Oh, that's a crazy take. Oh man, yeah.
Why Shador over Caleb?
Because he's accurate. I feel like if Shador had the receivers, the offense, the Ben Johnson, oh my God. Oh, I'd take Joe Flacco. You know what I mean? Like, I just want some simple football being played. And Caleb just be trying to be a superhero. Caleb is so talented. So talented. But he only want to do the big things. It's so weird to me. And it makes me mad.
And you bring up Ben Johnson, after he took his shirt off and, did the celebration after beating the Eagles. I think he won over the hearts of a lot of Chicago Bears fans, not just on the field, but off the field as well. What do you make of Ben Johnson?
I love Ben Johnson. I love him. I love him. I love him. We have finally got a coach who has a system, who has a game plan. All we need to do is give him his quarterback, whatever that looks like. And I know we still got more season to go, and I catch it from my friends all the time because they're like, "Real, get Caleb a chance. He was number one pick and blah, 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 blah." He doing exactly what I like about him in college. So,
All right. So as you're talking to us though, as you're like, I feel your passion, but you're talking to me in a Bulls jersey. So I got to ask you about the Bulls too, right? Because the Bulls 9-14, not the start that they wanted. They said, "Look, I'm not being
no.
the beacon of light for
You
you
broke
at all.
him again.
Can they, Lil Rel, can they save their season? Can the Bulls season be salvaged?"
God, I'm so honest. Look, man, when they were 6-1. I did not celebrate. Now, this is the crazy part. I watch every game like I'm some type of scout. I rewatch games. We got to get rid of Vooch, and we got to get rid of Billy Donovan. Ever since Vooch got mad when we beat the Washington Wizards by 1 point, and one of the players went over to him while he was doing his interview to celebrate, and he got mad and decided to say that we're a soft team, we're too soft. Which is weird to me coming from one of the softest centers in the league. You can't call people soft and you don't lead the way like that. These young guys, they were having fun. They was like, look, we just trying to play basketball. He has changed the energy in the locker room. I went to the game last week because I was in Chicago. And when I tell you they didn't play with energy, it looked like they're checked out. So it's time. It's time to get rid of Vooch. And it's time to get rid of Billy Donovan. I don't even know how Billy Donovan's been out coached this long. Any other coach would have been fired by now. For some reason, this dude keeps the job. I don't know why.
Well, let's stick on Billy Donovan for a bit, though, because he did say that they haven't had any conversations about Giannis. I mean, the rumor mill is rumor milling when it comes to Giannis and where his next landing spot is going to be. So let's say you are in charge of the Chicago Bulls. Are you picking up the phone and starting the conversation about Giannis?
We can start it about Giannis, man. I don't care. Trade Vooch for AD. Trade Vooch for just one of those centers who just catch alley-oops. Just get Vooch out of here. I am tired of Vooch. He has changed the energy. He doesn't help anything. He doesn't play any defense. He's a double-double guy. His numbers look good. Let him go somewhere else. Go to the Western Conference where nobody play no defense for real outside of OKC. Go over there. Just leave so we can just develop our young players. And then I'm gonna tell you something. I just on record, I wanted to draft Derek Queen. Okay. Now I'm watching this dude become a double-double machine over at the Pelicans, and our rookie not even playing.
He's absolutely crushing it. You're right. There is no doubt about that. I will get you. I'll get you positive. Get you positive one here. You were an Uncle Drew with Kyrie. What was it like for you to see somebody like that and see his skills up close and personal?
It was what I loved about working with Kyrie more than anything. I saw how much of a basketball fan he really is. He's such a student of the game. You know what I mean? And he loves basketball. And I thought that was fascinating. But to be honest with you, what made that even crazier was working with all of them. Reggie Miller, Chris Webber, Shaq. When I tell you some of the greatest basketball conversations was in between takes, man. I'm talking about stuff I asked Webber about the timeout. I asked Reggie Miller about the Michael Jordan fight. I asked a lot of random, and they answered my questions, and it made my life. It was crazy. And just even the advice they was giving Kyrie was, man, it felt like I was a fly on the wall, man. And it was hot days too. So we had this real nice trailer. They had us all in together. Man, it was like, I would have paid to do that movie just to hear all the stories I heard.
I love seeing your passion. This is amazing. Okay, so we're gonna play a game with you here. We like to play a game on the show all the time. Start, bench, cut. I think you've got the basic concept here. But we're gonna do a Chicago sports edition of Start, bench cut, and we're going to put a special twist on it in honor of you being our guest. So we're looking at the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs. Okay, those are your three options: the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs. But we're going to theme it after movies you've been in. So we're going to figure out the national champions, the vacation friends, or the Get Out. So this is, this is your chance to name one of them the best, one of them the bench, and one of them the cut. So who would be we'll start with the national champions. So you got Chicago sports, any team you want, Chicago sports in your start, bench, cut. Which one is your national champions?
Ooh. So I'm a huge, dang. That's tough, man. Oh, that's like
Hard hitting stuff.
heartbreaking.
Only the hardest hitting stuff here.
So what's
Truly.
gonna help with this? This is how I feel right now.
Mhm.
So national champions, we're gonna go with the Bears because they're the better team right now. Friends, we're gonna go with the Cubs,
Ooh.
who needs to get out because they need to fire some people in trade. Is the Bulls.
The jersey that you're wearing right now. Get out.
These are the choices you gave me, yo. Yeah, and they're not exciting right now. They need to get out.
Amazing.
Maybe
So
them or the
we'll be-
Blackhawks. Sorry, the Blackhawks. And the Bulls.
And we didn't even put the Blackhawks
We'll put 'em together for you.
in this game. Yeah. Well, we'll put them on for the next one. We'll defer the Blackhawks to our next game. But you have a brand new movie out right now on Stars. It's called Unexpected Christmas. The movie's premise is that you're bringing your ex's sister to Christmas dinner. Thoughts and prayers there. Wild and messy, but a great time. Did you lean on any of your own holiday experiences here? Did this happen
Not
in
at
real
all.
life too?
Not at all. Richard is a whole different brother than me, but it's crazy because he didn't know that they were sisters or she would even be there. So it's more of a surprise for him. And that's what made me want to do the movie too. It's the script. The script, when I read that, honestly, they offered me the uncle role. And I asked after reading the script, like, who playing the lead? Like, give me that. I want to be the troublemaker. And that's how that ended up happening, actually, because I asked for that.
That's incredible.
Amazing.
As a
Give it a
Christmas
watch.
movie fanatic, I can't wait to check it out. It's out on Stars right now. You can
It's
also find his
good.
comedy special, Rel Talk, on Tubi. And again, check out Unexpected Christmas on Stars. Really excited, man. Love talking Chicago sports with you. Hope the rest of the season goes even better for you. If the Bears are in the Super Bowl, you got to come back, hang out with us again. Come on, man.
This is gonna be a great playoff, man. The NFL has been.
It's gonna be so fun.
So many storylines, so I'm excited. So yeah,
Lil Rel, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning.
thank you.
Great
Appreciate
stuff
ya.
from him. It's a Thursday. You know what that means? Some trap games to get into the way only this show can. We'll do it next.
if I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? So, it's the mindset I'm trying to bring to the table.
Seems frustrating.
There's just a lot of things going on right now.
Joe Burrow, when being asked on his birthday about if he's got a lot on his mind and if it's professional or personal, and it's really staggering to hear somebody be that honest. Joe is a very introspective person. I think we can all agree on that. He's very thoughtful in how he approaches his life, Caroline. But this to me just screamed of somebody that's obviously not necessarily enjoying the process of where he is right now with something he loves, and that's football. Just a few weeks ago, he said we get paid a lot to play a kid's game. You don't see the joy of somebody that gets to play a kid's game in that response.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of response on social media of, well, you get paid millions and millions of dollars. You don't need to have fun. I think that's short-sighted to say that. I think you have to look back on Joe Burrow's career. He has been so banged up and they haven't won a whole lot of football games outside of that run in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. I mean, Joe Burrow had an MVP caliber season last year and they missed out on the playoffs. I don't blame Joe Burrow for not having a whole lot of fun right now. He's beat up. He continuously gets smacked in the mouth. And there's only so much that one person can do, albeit at the most important position in sports. There's clearly only so much that Joe Burrow can do without getting much help around him, whether that's support from their defense, support from the coaching staff, support from the front office to put good enough talent around him to where Joe Burrow doesn't have to throw for 4,500 yards and still miss out on the playoffs. So I don't really blame Joe Burrow for not having a whole lot of fun right now doing what he's doing. And I think that quote, that soundbite there from Joe Burrow should send chills down the spines of every Bengals fan across America. Because Fitz, you and I on this show 3 months ago got up here and talked about if Joe Burrow is suffering the same fate as Andrew Luck. An elite quarterback that's playing for an organization that's just not putting enough support around him. A guy in the prime of his career that's just sick and tired of being injured all the time. And we talked about that whenever Joe Burrow, it came out that he was suffering the turf toe injury. And I think now that just kind of adds even more credence to the conversation that we were having 3 months ago. I don't want to see good talent leave the National Football League because they get failed by their organizations. And right now, the Bengals are failing Joe Burrow.
For every fan that says he gets paid a king's ransom, just be happy. I will remind you, according to Google, he's already made $177 million in his career. When you have made $177 million in your career already, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do anymore. That's why I listen to what he said and I listen to the tone. And I've been lucky enough to interview Joe a few times in my career. But when you sit there and look at his body language and just the way he presented that looked to me like somebody that just doesn't enjoy where this process is. And to that point, if there's a part of Joe Burrow that's just not sure if he wants to do this anymore, that's an ultimate fail by the Bengals, and it's an ultimate fail for the NFL. The NFL is better with Joe Burrow in it. And if this is any sort of an indication that maybe Joe's thinking he doesn't really need football anymore, not only would that be a shame for the Bengals and would they have to look in the mirror and figure out how they wasted such an incredible talent, for all of us that just love watching football, that makes Sundays worse. We all miss the fact that we didn't get to see the rest of Andrew Luck's career because he chose to walk away. I don't want to see that fate for Joe Burrow as we continue to figure out what it means for him moving forward. We'll keep you updated on anything that we find out. In the meantime, it is Thursday. You know what that means. It is time for some trap games. We love to figure out games out there that could be a trap that are sitting out there for us on Thursdays. Caroline, what do you got for me? Give me your first trap game of the week.
We just touched on Joe Burrow. I will keep it in the AFC North. Give me the Cleveland Browns over the Chicago Bears in the Ice Bowl. Ben Johnson.
Shedeur actual on fire. Look at that. That is beautiful.
Right. Shedeur's going to be bringing the heat where there's going to be none. And we've got Ben Johnson out here. He's got, his frozen tips in his hair. He's not taking his shirt off this go around. He can't. It's too cold. And also, because they're going to lose. Look, weird things happen when it's that freaking cold out. We just saw Shedeur have a career day, again, albeit in a short career, but a career day against the crummy, crappy Tennessee Titans. I know they're a bad team, but maybe, just maybe, we saw Shedeur find something or unlock something in this level of play. And maybe, just maybe, this Browns defense is going to get all up in Caleb Williams' face in the cold and make life really, really difficult for the Chicago Bears. So I'm taking the Browns to take down the Bears at home. Bring them back down.
Look, I love this take by you. This is a bummer that this game's going to be -20, and I don't just mean for the fans. I mean for evaluation. Like, one of the tough things right now for Shedeur is that, as I've said repeatedly, he's played two of the worst teams that we've seen in the last 20 years in the NFL. He's had really good games against them. We need to see a body of work of Shedeur to have the opportunity to be the best he can be. I don't know how any quarterback thrives in -20. Like, this is what's going to happen Monday. If Shedeur goes out and balls out, then we're going to sit there and qualify, well, it was a cold game and it was freaky. It was weird. That's what people are going to do. If Shedeur goes out and throws 3 picks, well, then isn't it fair to also look at the way that Jared Goff just played in the cold? I know Shedeur has played in cold before. I know cold may not bother him. -20 isn't cold. -20 is something different. I don't care how much you're running around on the field. I don't know what can prepare your hands for -20. And if you're wearing gloves, I don't know what prepares you for wearing gloves when you don't usually wear gloves. So these are all things that I think will impact Caleb. They'll impact Shedeur. It'll impact the entire way this game looks. And that's unfortunate for everybody involved, because if you're the Browns, the most important thing right now, above and beyond anything else, is can you get more data points on Shedeur Sanders? -20, I'm not sure is actually going to give us actual sustainable data on anything. So, but I love your take, and I love the Photoshop even more. Let's see what they worked up for my take here. I've got, this one's wild. I can't believe I'm saying this. How about the Jets shocking the Jags? Let's see what they worked up for this one. You got Liam Cohen, and man, that is right there. That's Duval, just like
that's
happening. That's
a fest.
And then Woody up in the jet, kind of speaking. Look, how bad is
Woody
it for the
in
New
the
York Jets?
Jets?
This is an actual quote that just was put out 9 minutes ago on social media by the New York Jets as part of a video. This is from their quarterbacks coach, who said, quote, "We'll have whoever is ready to play. They still don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the Jets.
Okay.
This is a bold take it's a bold strategy, Cotton. But when you start thinking about this, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, both won't practice. Brady Cook is going to get the first team reps for this team. Like, this is a nightmare scenario in every possible way. But let's also think about just the Jags here, because when you talk about trap games, the very element, like if you're putting the ingredients together in a pan that are going to give you the trap games, one of the important things is you got to suck. Well, check mark, the Jets cover that. One of the important things is that you got to be so bad that the team is going to overlook you. Brady Cook would do that to just about anybody. So I got another check mark in my little basket here. And then just another element is, who do you play next? Well, the Jags have at Denver next, the Broncos next, a big game, right? So they're coming off the Colts, which was a huge game for their division. They have the Broncos coming up next. In between is this little stinky New York Jets football team. Those elements together get me to the possibility of a trap game. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I would love to buy what you're selling here. I honestly didn't even know Brady Cook.
Thank you.
Sends a shiver down my spine. I didn't even know Brady Cook was in the league. I mean, he came in against the Dolphins, 14 of 30 for 163 yards. That is less than 50% completion for those taking score at home. 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. That is good for a QBR of 6.6. What Frank Schwab told us yesterday was that if you just spike the ball on every single snap, your QBR will be like 36. So I want to buy what you're selling here, Fitz. I really do. But if Brady Cook is their best option at quarterback, I don't know. I don't think that there's enough magic to go around, enough Christmas magic to go around to save that dumpster fire.
Okay, look, that doesn't make me feel, Brady Cook doesn't make me feel better about this equation. And the quarterback situation overall of the Jets doesn't make me feel better about the situation. This is at least a team that, while they're not trying to win football games, or they're not trying to tank, nobody does, they do have a staff that's coming around. They haven't fired everybody in the building yet, so maybe the staff can get them fired up for the people that think they're still going to be in the building. I'm trying to walk myself into it.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay. I didn't feel good about it. I feel even worse about it. I feel much better about yours right now. And that man, Aaron Glenn, is just somehow I think the Jets have shown you how bad they are, that this season is going off the rails, and none of us are looking around saying, well, you got to fire Aaron Glenn. Like, that's how bad the Jets are. That's how bad we knew the Jets would be.
There's a certain amount of, invincibility, a certain kind of special juju whenever you have nothing left to play for and nothing left to lose. And the Jags have everything to play for. I mean, in an AFC South and an AFC where, it's very tightly contested. So maybe that's the special juju that the Jets need.
Duval.
To play for.
This is, yeah. I
don't
don't
know.
Yeah, unless they come out with the same level of enthusiasm that Cohen came out when he said that, Duval, I think my pick is already doomed. Come back tomorrow morning. More inside coverage will be right here at 9 a.m. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for watching.